The disaster worse than Titanic nobody talks about. The American Civil War was finally over. Thousands of exhausted Union soldiers were finally going home after surviving years of fighting, starvation, disease, and some of the worst prison camps in American history. For many of them, the nightmare seemed finished. But they had no idea they were about to board a floating death trap. April 1865. The wooden steamboat Sultana travels along the Mississippi River carrying passengers and cargo. At first glance, it looks normal. But behind the scenes, disaster is already waiting. The Sultana was designed to carry only 376 passengers. Instead, more than 2,000 people were forced onto the boat. Most were recently released Union prisoners of war. Many had survived brutal Confederate prison camps. They were weak, starving, and desperate to return home. But there was a problem. Government officials and boat operators were being paid for every soldier they transported. The more men they packed onto the ship, the more money they made. The Sultana became dangerously overloaded. Men covered every deck, every staircase, every open space. There was barely room to move. Even worse, one of the ship's boilers had already been leaking. Engineers recommended proper repairs. Instead, temporary fixes were made to save time. The ship was cleared to leave. On April 24, 1865, the overloaded vessel began its journey north. As it pushed against the powerful Mississippi River current, pressure continued building inside the damaged boilers. Most passengers were asleep. None of them knew how close they were to death. Around 2 a.m. on April 27, everything changed. Without warning, one of the boilers exploded. Then another. Then another. The blast ripped through the center of the ship. Wood splintered into the air. Steam instantly burned hundreds of people alive. The upper decks collapsed. Fire spread everywhere. Panic exploded across the vessel. Men were thrown into the freezing Mississippi River. Some had broken bones. Others were badly burned. Many couldn't swim. The river was flooded from spring rains. The current dragged survivors into the darkness. Some clung to pieces of wood. Others disappeared beneath the water. Screams echoed across the river. People begged for help. Friends watched each other drown. Soldiers who had survived prison camps and battlefields died only days before reaching home. For many families, their loved ones survived the entire Civil War, only to die on the journey back. By sunrise, the Sultana was gone. The river was filled with bodies, wreckage, and survivors struggling to stay alive. An estimated 1,100 to 1,800 people died, making it the deadliest maritime disaster in American history. More deadly than the Titanic. But almost nobody remembers it. Why? Because America was focused on something else. Just days earlier, President Abraham Lincoln had been assassinated. Newspapers were consumed with the end of the Civil War, Lincoln's funeral, and the hunt for his killer. The Sultana disaster disappeared from the headlines. And then came the final twist. Nobody was truly held responsible. The overcrowding, the rushed repairs, the corruption, the negligence. No major figure faced real punishment. The victims were buried. The story faded. And one of the deadliest disasters in American history slowly disappeared from public memory. Today, most people have never heard of the Sultana. A disaster that killed more people than the Titanic. A tragedy hidden in the shadow of history. And a reminder that sometimes the deadliest stories are the ones nobody remembers.